This Old House Radio Hour is supported by the Home Depot. Whether you're tackling a kitchen upgrade, organizing your garage, or building out that back deck, it's important to keep your projects on track. Fast, free delivery from the Home Depot makes it easy to keep things moving in the right direction. If you're just starting out or you're stuck in the middle, the Home Depot has same-day and next-day delivery, so you can get what you need fast. Maybe you need a tool, more materials, some extra paint and supplies, or a battery to power your way through that project. Whatever you're working on, get fast, free delivery from the Home Depot. How doers get more done. Order select in-stock items by 4 p.m., subject to availability. From LAist and APM, American Public Media, it's This Old House Radio Hour. I'm your host, Jen Largis. On today's show, can the right paint color change your mood? The science says yes, and we'll tell you how to make it happen at home.
Color, it actually hits our brain before we even are conscious about it. So our limbic system has a way of drawing out our emotions and our memory through color.
Comedian Billy Gardell on the only home he's ever owned and how it changed everything after years of couch surfing.
I got my house. It's the only house I've ever owned. I was in an apartment or on somebody's couch until I got my break on Mike and Molly. So my house, it's very symbolic for me because I never thought I'd own a house.
All of this, plus we're answering your home improvement questions at 877-864-7460. Coming up next. Welcome back to This Old House Radio Hour from LAist and APM. I'm your host, Jen Largis. If you've ever walked into a room and you just felt better, or maybe worse, you might be reacting to the color on the walls. Therapist turned designer Anita Yokota is here to explain how color affects our moods and how we can use it to our advantage at home. Anita, welcome to This Old House Radio Hour.
Thank you so much, Jen. I'm really, really excited to be here today.
So you are a licensed marriage and family therapist. Why did you transition to becoming a designer?
I started out as a therapist for 20 years, had really no inkling that I would be pivoting. I think it was more of a integration than a transition because I worked with so many clients that had issues at home. And even when I did home visits, I saw the relationship between our home environment and our mood. So that really just started to formulate my home therapy method, even unbeknownst to me at the time.
So how did you discover that colors could impact how we feel?
It's very interesting. With color, it actually hits our brain before we even are conscious about it. So our limbic system has a way of drawing out our emotions and our memory through color. And that's something that really fascinated me. Color is probably one of the easiest ways to soothe our soul, to calm our anxiety, visually declutter our spaces just by using a calming effect like color on the walls.
Walk me through some examples. If you're trying to create an atmosphere where you feel inspired versus calm, what are some different color choices that we could make?
I always like to start with what I call a core desire. So how do I want to feel in this space? And from there, then the colors, the design always falls into place. I know a lot of my clients want to feel very productive in their workspaces. And a lot of times the misnomer is that we have to use very neutral, vanilla, white colors. But actually, for something like productivity, doses of energizing colors, like a little bit of a red or a little bit of a yellow with a gray undertone that's muted, actually can stimulate your senses to find that energy to work.
So if you're looking to design a room, let's say, that makes you feel at ease, what are some principles that we could follow?
Always finding paints that have a gray undertone. Basically, anything that's more muted, and automatically that's going to be so much more calming and soothing. In a bedroom, calming blues, greens, creams and beiges, of course, white, all very calming colors. But you don't want to make it boring. So that's where the textures, like the jute rug, and I like using chenille jute rugs because there's a softness to it. and you can layer a beautiful Persian rug on top of it to add visual depth and that grounding feeling. So there's different ways to make your bedroom calm with the base of the colors, but then you can layer other textures in to add that cozy feeling. So that's my little trick of the day.
That's so interesting. So similar to colors, do patterns have the same kind of effect to either make you feel anxious or at ease?
Absolutely. In fact, how I really approach patterns is still using the pattern color combo. What happens is we see branding all the time, like commercials and everything. It's very primary colors like red, blue. So what I do is I use more muted colors, blushes, corals, more muted greens and blues that are soothing to us. So same with patterns. You can have a bold pattern, but make sure the colors are more muted so that it's not in your face altogether. Now, on the flip side, smaller patterns, like in nature, we see waves, florals, patterns that repeat. You notice that in nature, it's not necessarily bold colors either. They're very neutral and muted, and they kind of blend together into a landscape. So smaller patterns sometimes can scare people too because it feels very frenetic, but having the colors and the patterns talk to each other, I think that's where you can really find the right balance and that grounding feeling that you want in a space.
And would you say the same is true maybe for textures effect on your mood?
It's so funny you're mentioning this because just yesterday I had a client visit and the husband loves river stones, and bringing in nature is my jam. I love it. But I did tell them something about walking on those stones just does not relax me. And so my point is, there's no design rule about bringing in whatever you think other people are telling you that relaxes you. It really should be textures that truly speak to you because we're all individuals. And what I find relaxing, maybe to somebody else is cringy.
Yeah.
So it's really more of a discovery. Having all those pieces resonate with you, I think that's where the real design win will occur.
Do you have any practical tips for how we can keep these color principles in mind?
Really pare down 3 main colors and then maybe 2 complementary colors so that you're not overshooting too many visual triggers or accents. Stay away from the matchy-matchy as well. Complementing colors is a far better way to design with visual depth. You can use the color wheel. You can even just Google color wheel, and whatever is opposing each other, those 2 colors actually complement each other. So blue and orange complement each other, red and green complement each other, and go from there.
So we like to end every episode with something called the simple fix, where our expert offers one piece of advice that can make a huge difference to a project and to our listeners. When it comes to selecting a color for a room, do you have a go-to piece of advice?
Yes. I think we covered a lot already, but I encourage people to get in touch with their feelings. And once they have that feeling of what they want that space to be, then the color will automatically come to you.
It's great advice. And we thank you so much for your time. I think this is such an interesting way to think about the way we use color in our home.
Thank you, Jen. I really loved being here today sharing with you.
That was Anita Yokota. For more home therapy, go to anitayokota.com. Right now, we're tackling your home improvement and DIY questions. We've got an expert on site to help you get the job done right. Call us now at 877-864-7460. Hello, you're on This Old House Radio Hour.
Hi, this is Fred Allmeyer from St. Louis, Missouri.
Hi, Fred. What's your question today?
So my question is, I got a letter and then a follow-up email from our water company. They have a commitment to replace all the lead in the galvanized pipe by the year 2030, and they're asking if we would be comfortable self-reporting on the type of material that's being used for our service line. And so that's the origin of the question. And they do give an option that, if you're not comfortable or you can't do that, right, there's a number you can call, and I guess they'll have somebody help you. But I thought I'd give it a shot. I kind of fancy myself a DIYer, so I figure I can do this. I can try to do this.
Well, Fred, joining us in the studio is Richard Trethewey, plumbing expert for the show. Richard, what do you think?
Fred, what's the age of your house?
So the house was built in 1970. It's 55 years old.
That should simplify it. The lead hasn't been used since 1929, 30. And then it went to galvanized steel pipe right at the Second World War, just before the Second World War and during the war. So if you're in 70, there's a high probability that it's copper. So there's some telltales. One is to get a magnet, and if you get a solid magnet and it's copper, it should not stick to the copper pipe, and that would be a way to self-report its material. If there's any iron masses in that, if it's galvanized steel, then the magnet would stick to it. So at least it would be a way to prove it. And then often the connection will also tell you, this is a radio show, so we can't see it, but, copper's got that sort of a lack of fittings. Generally, it often will come up in a soft bend coming up through the floor. And then it usually goes to originally back then, it used to be a thing called a flared connection, which was a nut that would screw to a shutoff valve, because the city would do that, and they wanted to be able to change the valve in the future. So if that connection has a sort of a nut that could be accepted by a crescent wrench, a large crescent wrench, then that suggests that it's probably a copper pipe. And that's its high probability. If it's a house built in 70, we had discovered the perils of lead by then, 40 years earlier.
Well, that's good. Yeah, that's certainly good news. So, I went down in the basement with my magnet, my pocket knife, to scrape on the pipe, and the complication is that the pipe comes through our poured foundation wall, below grade there, and immediately as it comes through the wall, it's attached to the shutoff valve, and it's as if
there's no road.
After they connected the pipe, it's like they pushed it back through the hole, so that the valve is right up against the wall, so I can't see the pipe.
Fred, that data point might be actually a confirming thing, because if it had been lead, the lead would have had to come into the building enough for them to do what they called a lead joint, which was this, where you took a ferrous piping and you sort of melted it in, you wiped the lead, and so that joint would never be inside the wall. It would be out proud of the wall. So the fact that you have a valve that close, it could only be that it's a threaded connection right at the wall, which is highly unlikely, because if they had a piece of threaded pipe, they would have left it in the building enough to hold back with a wrench on the pipe. So it suggests that it's copper with that same flared connection that I just suggested.
Okay. Well, that's good news then.
You can self-report back that your copper is no lead. You can drink the water, as they say in Boston.
Okay. Well, that's good news.
All right.
I'm glad to hear that. And I can go ahead and self-report.
Yeah. We'll let you go. Self-report right now. Get back. We got to get back there right away. They want to know.
I'm going to get right on that. All right.
Thanks for calling.
I appreciate your help,
Fred.
and good luck with your new show.
Thank you so much. Thanks for being part of it.
Coming up, our experts are going to answer more of your home improvement and DIY questions. Call us at 877-864-7460. That's 877-864-7460. That's next on This Old House Radio Hour from LAist and APM. Stay tuned. This Old House Radio Hour is supported by the Home Depot. Whether you're tackling a kitchen upgrade, organizing your garage, or building out that back deck, it's important to keep your projects on track. Fast, free delivery from the Home Depot makes it easy to keep things moving in the right direction. If you're just starting out or you're stuck in the middle, the Home Depot has same-day and next-day delivery, so you can get what you need fast. Maybe you need a tool, more materials, some extra paint and supplies, or a battery to power your way through that project. Whatever you're working on, get fast, free delivery from the Home Depot. How doers get more done. Order select in-stock items by 4 p.m., subject to availability. You're listening to This Old House Radio Hour from LAist and APM. I'm your host, Jen Largis. Right now we're tackling your home improvement and DIY questions. Call us now at 877-864-7460. That's 877-864-7460, and we'll match you with the right expert. Hello, you're on This Old House Radio Hour.
Hi, this is Munir. I'm calling from Marietta, Georgia.
All right, what's your question?
Yeah, so I got these porcelain tiles in my house, and every now and then, and in a few areas, when we walk over them, we will hear a cracking sound. The tile doesn't crack. It doesn't move out, but it does, we sense a little bit of movement. And now the craziest part is that sometimes, even at night when no one is walking, we can actually hear the sound as well. It's not all night long, but you hear it. I mean, I'm hoping there's some simple answer to this other than I probably should have called ghost hunters instead.
All right, to help answer your question, we have Zach Detmore, a general contractor for This Old House, here on the line.
Yeah, Munir, this house is haunted.
Yep.
100%.
I mean, he said it.
We cannot help you. You knew it, and you called us anyway.
I was hoping y'all would save me.
Yeah. Well, we'll try. We'll come up with some alternative solutions, but is this a new house?
This house was built in the 80s, but in 2018, there was new flooring was installed because the old flooring was damaged.
And did you do that, or that was before you?
It was before me, but I know the previous owner. So they basically had a water leak problem that had buckled the hardwood floors under it, and they replaced the hardwood with these porcelain tiles on the main floor.
Have they always had this cracking noise, or is this new?
So I moved in 2 years ago, and yes, the cracking noise has been there the entire time. The noise at night, I think it happens more in the winter time, if that makes sense, than it does in the summer, or maybe I just sleep better in the summer. I'm not sure which one.
I think that does make sense. Is there any, when you look at that floor, does it look like it was laid yesterday, or does it look like there's hairline gaps between the grout and the tiles?
Ooh.
Where this cracking noise is coming from?
There's nothing that, to the naked eye that would make you think anything.
What do you think, Jen?
I'm going to go back to his clue where he said that the hardwood floors had to be removed because there was a leak. Is that right? That ruined the floors?
The house was abandoned for a while before the new owners moved in 2018. And apparently water damage for a long time of it being abandoned had forced the floor under it to buckle. So they were saying it was almost like walking over hills of hardwood when they got in there.
That's a heck of a lot of information you just dropped on us. That
the abandoned part has me leaning back towards the ghosts again.
It does. It does. Apparently this ghost wasn't very handy.
Yeah.
So what happens is your subfloor is plywood, most likely. And when it gets exposed to water, it's going to expand, and then it's going to contract, right? And when it expands, it's going to pull away from the joists, and it's going to bring the fasteners with it. So it's expanding, it's pulling this nail out of the wood when it's saturated, and then as it dries, it's shrinking, but that nail's not going back in.
Yeah.
And this whole assembly has some movement to it. When you said, I'm noticing it more in the winter, that speaks to me that in the summer, Georgia's super, super humid, right?
Very.
It's expanding, so you're not getting movement between the sheets of plywood. But there's a couple different types of approved tile substrates. So we're assuming because the tile still to you looks intact, the tile installer knew what they were doing. So they probably showed up to do a job. They're not contracted to replace the subfloor. So they either put down something called an uncoupling membrane, which is a piece of felt that's sort of bonded to a plastic, and then the tile gets bonded to the plastic, and that allows the subfloor to move all over the place and the tile not to crack because the tile is bonded to the plastic, not the felt. So that's the terminology of uncoupling membrane. So that could explain why your subfloor is moving all over the place, but your tile looks pretty good. And that noise you're hearing could be your body weight pushing down on the subfloor and causing that subfloor to move and pop. But because there's no movement happening between the tiles, because it's bonded to the uncoupling membrane, you're not having that problem. And the reason I'm leaning towards it most likely being an uncoupling membrane is because they're 1/8 of an inch thick. Whereas if you used cement board, which would probably be the most common thing, that's more like a 1/4 to a 1/2 inch thick. So unfortunately, my guess is the only thing you have available to you would be to figure out where that noise is and then locate it. Maybe you have someone tapping on it from above. You go in the crawl space and get into that dirty area. And then I would take, say, a 2x4 or something, put a ton of construction adhesive on it and shove it up into place against the joist to basically fortify that subfloor that's moving. And I would do that in every location you have the cracking, and that might solve the issue.
Wow. That is a lot of information. Definitely more than I got online. I mean, I'm glad I called y'all.
We cover
But what I'm
ghosts.
getting out of this is you're telling me to lose weight. Right.
We cover ghosts and
So many things.
subflooring fixes.
Yeah, that was a ton of information. I'm
service.
sorry about that. I could have broken that
That was
down.
very helpful. I'm sorry if I lost some of y'all listeners with that, but that was very helpful.
Luckily, there's a recording of this conversation that you can refer back to.
Yeah. Sorry to all the people who just fell asleep and crashed their cars into signs.
Thank you guys so much. I don't know what else to say. Thank y'all. This is very helpful, and I'll see if we can fix this. And we look forward to giving it a shot.
All right. Good luck, Munir.
Thank you. You guys have a great rest of the day.
You too.
Right now, we're tackling your home improvement and DIY questions. You can call us now at 877-864-7460, and we'll match you with the right expert. Hello, you're on This Old House Radio Hour.
Hi, this is Jim Millhouse from Lititz, Pennsylvania.
Jim, what's your question?
Well, I had a question about the photovoltaic panels, or solar cells as people call them. On a bright lit moonlit night, my question is, will they produce any electricity?
Interesting question. We've got Heath Eastman, an electrician for the show, and Zach Detmore, a general contractor for the show, both here to help. Zach, you surely know the answer.
I don't know, but my guess is that because the sun emits light, not the moon is just reflecting light, and the moon is so much smaller, I don't think the energy can reflect off. But I know, I'm pretty sure it's something like 400,000 times less light is coming off the moon than the sun. So my guess is your array would register what would translate to close to zero. But I think this is more of a Heath question than a Zach question, because if you told me if I lean my crown molding out in my yard overnight, what would happen to it? That's about where my professionalism ends.
Got that.
Well, Zach, honestly, I think you're right on the money. I think that's just the sun reflecting off the moon. I believe the solar panels, if it's bright enough, will actually register it, but barely. Like they'll see 1 or 2% of their capacity. So it's not enough to register and actually generate anything.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it might light up a very, very small LED, but that's about all it could do. So I think Zach's exactly right. Astronomy 101.
Yeah.
He's a big Google dude.
No, I just, we had a road trip and we were doing a lot of planet talk in the car, on Sunday coming back. So it's all fresh in my mind, like how big the sun is compared to the moon, compared to Jupiter.
We're here for all kinds of questions.
Yeah, right.
This Old House Radio Hour.
Yeah, my mind works each way, so that thing just caught in my mind, so I thought I'd ask.
Yep. No, I think it does just a little bit, but not enough to actually generate anything.
Right. Okay. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to answer that question, and that solves that problem.
Call me next time for the crown molding in the yard trick. That
I was going to say, I've got some questions why you're putting the crown molding in the yard overnight. That's my bigger question.
Well, thanks for calling.
Thanks for the call.
We love an easy one.
You bet. Have a good one, guys.
Take care.
All right, you can call us now at 877-864-7460. That's 877-864-7460, and we'll match you with the right expert. Hello, you're on This Old House Radio Hour.
Hi, my name's Keith Jeter. I'm from Chesapeake, Virginia, and I have a question for This Old House.
Oh, wonderful. Tell us your question.
My question is, we had about a 40-foot ditch along our road, and it is, how would I say it? It doesn't have a curb. It's just a ditch, and it was hard to mow. So what we did was filled it in with a culvert, the whole length, and that was 4 years ago. About last year, I noticed that the apron at the edge of the driveway, that after heavy rain, it started to erode, depress, sink in. And I called the builder, and he got in touch with the mason who put it in the driveway and the landscaper. They came out and they filled it underneath with some gravel and some concrete. And what can I do to keep the erosion down from underneath the apron? It's a two-car driveway, and I can see from both sides that there is erosion underneath the apron. I keep having to fill it up with gravel.
All right. Well, to answer your question, we have the show's Mason Mark McCullough and general contractor Zach Detmore on the line.
Hi, Keith. This is Mark.
Hi.
Hey, Keith, it's Zach.
Hello.
Can I just say this back to you, make sure we're understanding this? So you have a road, and then during a rainstorm, there's going to be water that's running along the side of the road. So you put basically a tube in and then dumped earth on top of that, and there's a driveway over the top. And when it's raining, the water sort of eroding under the driveway and it's sinking.
Yeah, in a nutshell, yes. It's not the whole culvert. It's just at the driveway.
Got it. What do you think, Mark?
So, Zach and Keith, I don't want to oversimplify the problem because I know it's not that simple, but you obviously have runoff, which means erosion. And what I would do, and Zach, interrupt me, I mean, is it that simple that you would confine that the underneath, the underbelly, so the prep work and all the gravel, would you just put a border of some sort? And it can be masonry, it can be something that just dips below grade a little bit and, again, would allow the water to pass and get into the culvert as opposed to, again, eating away the underneath of the driveway. Did I?
Yeah, the culvert at one side of the driveway is lawn. The whole strip is not an opening. Instead of having a ditch, it's now lawn.
Okay. So to me, what I want to do is I want to gather up all the water that, again, is doing this eroding, and I want to redirect it to the mouth of that culvert. And again, without seeing the project, I don't know if I'm dead on or not, but I always think that if you have an erosion, again, border up the side that's depleting, and then it's a regrade game after that, I think, Zach. I think you try to regrade the area around this particular erosion and again, divert whatever's eroding into the culvert. So it would be a little work, I think, for more the landscaper than the mason. Am I reading that right, Zach?
I think so. I think my only concern is if there's water trying to pass from one side of the driveway to the other, if that water quantity is greater than the passage below the driveway is, then maybe that is a recipe for not being able to solve this with grading and having to make that orifice larger. But if that's not the case...
I think that is the case.
Okay.
On that is,
so maybe it's just overwhelming that you can't get the gallons through it that happens during certain weather events.
Right. There is no through it. It's just lawn. There is no opening. Where it was a ditch, there's no opening now.
So the water's collecting on one side.
It's not even collecting. It's just the soil is absorbing it, and part is I can see from the depression that is flowing underneath the apron, going to the other side of the driveway.
So it's almost making itself a passageway under your apron.
Right. How wide is that driveway?
2 cars.
Okay, that's a distance. And you say the driveway's made of concrete?
Yes, it is.
So, okay, Zach, I mean, if I'm hearing this right, that's almost get a saw cut. And
that's right.
And cut in what would end up being a trench. And then, so what I would do if that were the way we had to go, Keith, is I would cut a slot in that driveway from one end to the other. I would put in a pipe that would collect that water and stop eroding the sub base. And then
almost like a gutter.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it. I would go with that. But I'll tell you, I don't know if I'd put a concrete patch on top of what you're going to make as the cut, only because you'll never match it. So you could get a cobblestone or a brick to kind of make a stripe and call it design, if you will. But cobblestones, the reason I mention that is because they're very subtle and they're very common for interaction with a driveway. But I think, Zach, I think you got it. And again, it's channel that water from side to side. The only way to do it would be to cut a slot. And the only way, again, I would like to see that slot repaired is through a different material, because other than that, it'll look like a concrete patch, which is probably not the goal.
Ugly. Yeah, not cool.
Yep, right.
I like that. Get my wife to put it in a budget, and we'll go from that.
All right.
That's the hardest part of your project. Well, we wish you luck, and we thank you for calling.
Good luck with it.
Thanks, Keith.
I wish you well on the show. Take care.
Appreciate it.
Coming up, Mike and Molly star and comedian Billy Gardell shares what home means to him and his family. That's coming up on This Old House Radio Hour from LAist and APM. Welcome back to This Old House Radio Hour from LAist and APM. I'm your host, Jen Largis. Before we bring on Billy Gardell, I want to take a moment to thank all of you who have made a donation to your local station this hour. Your support is really vital to helping us continue answering your home improvement and DIY questions, as well as bringing you every show you enjoy on this station. Public radio relies on your support, and we thank you for it. And now, a feel-good story about a late-blooming comic. Before Mike and Molly, Billy Gardell was crashing on couches, until fame hit after 40, and he finally bought his dream home.
Hi, this is Billy Gardell. I'm an actor and a comedian, and this is my old house. I live in Los Angeles, and we have a 2-story house, which is Spanish style. I love the big arches, the big doorways, the wood, the tile on the floors, and the big entrances, and the terracotta roofs. It just feels very Los Angeles to me, and I love that. I got my house. It's the only house I've ever owned. I was in an apartment or on somebody's couch until I got my break on Mike and Molly. So my house, it's very symbolic for me because I never thought I'd own a house. I have a lot of gratitude for this place. I grew up in an alley in Pittsburgh, and my wife comes from very meager beginnings as well, from a farm in Georgia. What we have in common is this thing where we didn't know we would ever get to this. When we signed the documents of the house, I had to excuse myself and go in the other room, and I had tears in my eyes because I came from a place in Pittsburgh where it was very working class. We were on food stamps at one point, and there wasn't a lot of money, and sometimes we were with my mom on my own and my brother and my sister, and I watched my mom do 3 jobs and decide which bills to pay. And the idea that my name was going on a deed was overwhelmingly, it was a perfect fear and joy cocktail. When I was a kid, I grew up in a row house in Pittsburgh. They were duplexes, and they were duplex, and they were not even a mile from the steel mills. Very working class. What always astounded me as a kid was it was people of meager means. We didn't have a lot of money, but everybody on that block, you had a front yard that was like 4 feet by 4 feet. But you would have thought the old men in that neighborhood, my dad included, were like keeping the grounds on a golf course somewhere. And what that taught me was it doesn't matter where you're living, You have to have pride in where you live because that is your sanctuary. I came from that place, and then I went out on my own and did my career and stand-up. The grinding on the way up, I always kept the lesson my dad showed me as an example. And so I always said to myself, no matter what, even if I was living in an apartment, if I had a corner of a floor, my corner was clean, and sanity lived there. And I love being a psycho about it. You know, my garbage cans have a certain place. I do touch-ups on my paint every 3 months. Something gets broke, I try to repair it as quickly as I can because I just hear my dad in my voice saying, your home is your sanity. Our house, when we moved in, the structure was great, but whoever did the wiring, I'm not sure they were ever an electrician. And it doesn't matter. When you move into a house, there's always going to be something. But that was the battle we had to fight. We had to rewire light switches, and we had to have a new fuse box put in and reconnected to everything. And then we did upgrades that are smart and efficient for out here. Like, of course, I painted the whole thing. We had new carpets put in on the rooms upstairs that have carpeting. There's wood floors and stone, which I love. It's the majority of the house. We put the fake grass in, the AstroTurf. I wanted to paint Pittsburgh Steelers emblem on it, but my wife would not do that. We built out our patio to make that a nice area for the family. We got solar panels on the roof. We do as much as we can energy conservation-wise out here. The electrical in the house, that was the spaghetti junction that we had to have fixed. My favorite room in my house is without question my office. It's the only room in the house that's mine. I've been married 25 years, and if you're good for 25 years, they give you a room where you can put your play stuff in. In this room, I just have books, records, pens, notebooks, and an old desk. That's the stuff that inspired me when I was a young man. This is my sanctuary. It's quiet. There's a chessboard. There's music. It's not abrasive in any way. This is a conducive place to think and reflect and read and learn. My second favorite place is we built a little patio out back by my pool. My buddy helped me install a drop-down screen and a projector. So we watch movies out there at night when it's nice weather, which it is most of the time around here. I love watching my movies out back or reading my books in my office. Those are my two favorite places. When we got this place, I couldn't believe we did. It's not a mansion or anything. We're about 3,400 square feet, and we got a nice little backyard with trees and a pool, and we've built a lot of love in this place. You know, our friends come over here. Our attitude is you should leave here feeling better than when you came in. Plus, as you get a little bit older, you're not so quick to want to go out anymore. You know what I mean? You're in your 20s, 10 o'clock, you're getting ready to go out. Around here, I like to have them slippers on about 7:30, and I'm happy with that. For the first 6 months I lived in my home, I was like, well, we can't have this. Someone's coming to take this at any minute. And it didn't happen. A friend of mine who's a pretty spiritual guy just kept telling me, man, your house is there temporarily. Might be 10 years, might be 50 years, might be 2 years. But while it's there, let it be a place where people feel welcome and loved and go home with a smile on their face. And if you focus on that, you're not going to focus on, oh, we shouldn't have this, I don't know. And that's kind of how I came up. So it was a nice way to learn that. Now I take a lot of pride when people come over and they have a good time. To me, that's very important. We've built 20 Thanksgivings over here. One of the things I love about that holiday in my home is we've always set that as, this is for the family we've created. That holiday is all about gratitude, and that's what we want you to feel when you come to our home. Super Bowl Sunday to me is Thanksgiving Day. But one thing I do at the holidays, I'm like Clark Griswold. At the holidays, you can see my house from the space shuttle. The roof is lit. The palm trees are wrapped like candy canes. There's a Christmas tree in the window. It looks like a Hallmark movie, and I do that on purpose. Those moments mean that much to this house. You know, we've been doing it long enough. We did it for 5 years in our apartment and then 15 years in this house. And then suddenly there's a few empty seats at that table. But they were here. And I feel like they revisit when we're having that holiday and there's a new person at that seat. We continue that tradition. And I think those traditions are the kind you should lean into. My father said, when a man knows what he's working for, you can't stop him. I work for this house because I know that it's a safe place for my wife and child to live, follow their dreams, express themselves. Like, that's the kind of house that I built.
That was Billy Gardell. Go to www.billygardell.com for tour dates near you. At This Old House, we want you to get the most out of everyday items in and around your home. Here are 3 things you can do with extra charcoal. 1. Nourish your compost heap. Charcoal can be a valuable addition to your compost pile, helping to balance the carbon to nitrogen ratio. If your compost smells like ammonia, it's a clear sign you need to add charcoal. 2. Disguise an imperfection. Charcoal can work as a quick fix on scratched wood surfaces or furniture. Gently rub a piece of charcoal over the scratch to fill in the damaged area. The temporary fix works best on darker woods and can help camouflage minor imperfections. Lastly, keep rust off tools. Protect your metal tools from rust by placing a few lumps of charcoal in your toolbox. Charcoal absorbs moisture that can lead to oxidation, helping to keep your tools dry and rust-free. For more tips like this, visit our website, thisoldhouse.com. We're nearly at the end of the show, which means it's time for the Simple Fix.
Hey Jen, it's Zach Detmore, general contractor for the show, and this is my Simple Fix. Did you just make a stain on your marble counter or tile? My Simple Fix is to use baking soda to get it out. Simply take the baking soda, mix it into a paste using water, and put it over the stain. Put a wet paper towel on top of it and leave it overnight. When you wake up, hopefully all of that stain will have been pulled into the baking soda and your counter will look beautiful.
We'll see you next week on This Old House Radio Hour. Our show is distributed by and co-produced by LAist Studios and APM, American Public Media. This Old House Radio Hour was created and produced by Ember 20. Listen to new episodes of the podcast every Tuesday on your app of choice. You can follow This Old House on all the socials at This Old House, all one word. We'll see you next week.
Hey everybody, I'm Kai Risdahl, the host of Marketplace. I'm going to join Amy Scott on September the 9th. She is the host of How We Survive, and also science writer Elizabeth Kolber for a conversation about the economic consequences of our climate crisis. We're going to break down how the acceleration of climate change is going to disrupt jobs and entire industries, even our daily lives. But it's not all doom and gloom. We're also going to dive into the solutions that are giving us hope right now. Thanks so much to Odoo for sponsoring this free webinar. And you can sign up today at marketplace.org/climate.